Elohim, Elohika, Jehovah Shammah, Emmanuel, Adonai,
Exodus 15, verse 26, he says, I am the God that healeth thee. In Psalm 107, verse 20, he sent his word and healed us. The Bible says his word will not return void, but it will accomplish the purpose for which it is sent. God's word in the name of Jesus is more powerful than cancer, heart disease, or any disease that you can name today. So let's put his word on our lips and let his healing come to us as we sing it to him. You are the God that healeth me. Let his healing come as we sing. you sent your word and you healed my disease. You are the Lord, my healer. Yes, you are.
This is CCR Ghana Radio. Support us to sustain our programs. Send your contribution to our MTN Momo 0555554230 0555554230. Make inquiries and send prayer requests to the same number. God bless you. This is CCR Ghana Radio. Support us to sustain our programs. Send your contribution to our MTN Momo 0555554230 0555554230. Make inquiries and send prayer requests to the same number. God bless you.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Your Health, Our Concern. This is CCR Ghana Online Radio, and we thank God for your life. God bless you for staying with us tonight.
Yes, I believe you can do. So
Our God cares about us. Our health is His concern, and that is why He has given us this wisdom to learn about our health so that we can live in peace and in good health.
Lord, I believe you're a healer.
This evening we are blessed to have a very wonderful doctor in our midst. Very soon you will hear from him. But before then, you can share the link to all friends and let people, your family, friends, join us live here on CCR Ghana Radio. Your health, our concern. Your questions are welcome. Doc is ready to answer them all.
Lord, I believe that you heal.
This evening we have in our midst here Dr. John Banin. Doc, I hope I've mentioned the name right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So we have our Honorable Dr. Mama backstage supporting us. Now she's producer number 2. This maybe the course of the program, probably we'll hear from her. She's here with us. Yes. If her fans are probably asking where is she, she's here with us, and we are going to have a wonderful time. So, Doc, once again, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
We would like you to introduce yourself to us. We would like to know you. Feel free. Just tell us more about yourself.
Okay, so like you rightly mentioned, my name is John Jesse Banin. I'm a doctor at the Accident and Emergency Department, Directorate, Konfanochi Teaching Hospital.
Okay.
I'm also a Catholic. I'm a father. I'm a husband. Yes, so I'm here.
Yeah, thank you very much. God bless you for coming. And my dear friends, as we all know, we still want to encourage you that COVID is not over. Recently I really got to understand why you're advising us that the face shield is not enough. I had to send my car to the workshop, so I sat in the trotro. Then I realized that when you're wearing a face shield and somebody is behind you, and now mostly people are not wearing the mask anymore. So the person at your back, and when the person comes, it means that it just moves straight to you. So, please do not entertain this lie. COVID is not over. It is still with us. If you look at the world count, we are still rising. And today I was told that we've had the highest spike ever. That we have now gotten to 29 million. 29 million. Who knows? Very soon we might hit over 50 million, just as the Spanish flu. So please, do not be deceived. We are still within COVID. 29,292,916 cases recorded so far in the world. Please do not be the next case. And Ghana, for the past 2 days, the Ghana Health Service has not updated the website. But as at yesterday, or even right now as we speak, we still have about 806 active cases. So please, COVID is not gone. Doc, COVID is not gone, right?
Yes, it's very much with us. And like you rightly said, in parts of the world where initially they thought it was under control, they are actually now seeing a second wave. So I think in our situation, what is happening now is that the ones that we are diagnosing and adding to our case counts are those who are actually coming to the hospital sick, that are getting tested. But then there are probably a lot, walking around in the communities who are healthy, carrying the virus and still passing it around. So who knows? I mean, nobody prays it happens, but it's possible that we may also have a second wave in our case. So it's not over yet.
I pray not, because what if at that time the government doesn't have enough money to take care of your medical bills, as a COVID-19 patient, and that is another thing we don't want together. So please, let us take very good care of this. People are now moving outside without even mask and then sanitize and their quarter. So please, it's very important. Let us take note of all these things. COVID is still with us. But this evening, Doc will help us to know more about asthma, and it's one of the I don't know, but my mom used to say asthma, you're bonny rough, because me myself have suffered from that before, and I know what it is. And as I was mentioning to you earlier, currently we have about 339 million people who are living with asthma over the world, and it's serious. So Doc, please take us through, what is this asthma?
Okay, so when we talk about asthma, then we are talking about a chronic disease. When we say a disease is chronic, what it means that it's not like, let's say, malaria, that you get infected, you take medications for 3 days, you are cured. If you get it, it means it's going to be with you for life.
Wow.
So it's a disease that causes inflammation and then narrowing. Okay, the airways, the tubes that leads from outside to our lungs. Our lungs are responsible for exchanging gases. We need oxygen, we have to bring out carbon dioxide. Now it's the lung that does that job, but there are some tubes that go from our nostrils, our mouth, all the way to our lungs.
Okay.
Those tubes are what we call the airway. So asthma basically affects those airways and causes narrowing of them, causes some inflammation, and then also causes a lot of mucus to come into the airway.
Okay.
So when we are talking about asthma, then we are talking about a chronic disease affecting the airways.
Doc, you've explained to us. So how will someone know that I have this asthma with me? So how do you identify that this is asthma and no other thing? Okay.
So there are certain signs and symptoms.
Okay.
That gives us, the idea about somebody having asthma or not. So one of the things is that basically it's an interaction between genetic factors and then environmental factors. What I mean by that is that we all inherit from our parents what we call genes.
Yes.
So these genes are responsible for the way we look, even the way we walk, the way we talk and all that. So in terms of our airway too, we can inherit certain genes that makes us prone to getting asthma.
Okay.
And then other environmental factors also comes to play. Now, when somebody has asthma, some of the signs and the symptoms are that they tend to cough.
Yeah.
They tend to cough a lot. They develop difficulty in breathing. They have problems breathing. And then sometimes the asthma can get so bad that they get very breathless. When they breathe, you hear certain sound. So we say they are wheezing.
Okay.
Okay, so they are wheezing. It's like when you are blowing air through a narrow tube, it will make a sound.
Yeah.
So our airways are also like tubes.
Okay.
So when the person is breathing through those narrow airways, it makes those sounds that we call wheezing.
Yeah, okay.
There are other signs and symptoms like change in the person's heart rate.
Okay.
Sometimes it can become so severe that even they become unconscious, and they have to
really?
Yes. So that's
wow.
So those are some of the signs and then the symptoms.
When the person's attacked, how long does it take for the person to go unconscious, or it's not that normal?
Okay, so I must say there are various levels.
Okay.
So some have it well under control, others too not so much under control, and then they get to the severe form of it. So you can have a mild attack, you can have a moderate, you can have a severe attack, or you can even have a life-threatening attack.
Life-threatening?
Yes. There are no specific timelines to say that, okay, when somebody has it for this long, then DS is going into severe attack. It's more about the control. Initially I said that it is a chronic illness, something that remains with a person for life. But then there are certain things as we go on. We will discuss what we can also do to control it. So I will not say that there is a specific timeline. Just that some people have it poorly controlled. And then also some people, they may have it under control, but then they get attacked, and then treatment delays. Now when the treatment delays, then the airway continues narrowing. So it narrows to a point where very little air can move in, very little air can move out. So it's at that point that maybe if nothing is done about it, then the person now becomes unconscious or goes into a life-threatening attack.
We've had some teachings over the past weeks. We realized that some of them, like stroke, when it attacks you, you need to be treated within some few minutes. What about asthma? Do you have, when the person's attacked, you have to be, report to the hospital with a certain time frame, or you can just hang around to go by yourself?
So hanging around may not be such a good idea. So what happens is that for those who stick to advice, they take advice of their medical profession. They are usually given certain medications, and then medication is supposed to help open up the airway. So we should always remember that when we are talking about asthma, as I said in the beginning, it's all about the narrowing and then the inflammation in the airway with a lot of secretions in it. So for an asthmatic, for somebody who has asthma, if they should get symptoms of difficulty in breathing, there are certain medications. So I'm sure we all commonly know that they use inhalers.
The inhaler, yeah.
So the inhaler contains a certain chemical that helps to open up the airway for them to breathe well. So as soon as somebody with asthma experiences any sign or symptom, especially difficulty in breathing, they have to, as a first aid, use the inhaler to open up the airway. If the person doesn't get relieved, or if the symptoms are worsening, then as soon as possible, that person needs to see a healthcare worker, so that the next line of treatment can also be initiated to halt the process.
Yes. So the first aid, when we talk about asthma, is to get the inhaler with you.
Yes.
Wherever you go.
Wherever the asthmatic goes, they should have the inhaler.
This, I do not know how true it is, but I was told that if you continuously use the inhaler, you get used to it, and then that is when you don't have it with you, then you can go to the life-threatening. So those who don't have the inhaler, they become like used to it. Oh, about one night. How true is that? Does the inhaler take you to another level of the whole thing of asthma?
I'm not sure that is entirely true. It doesn't happen that way. There are certain cells in the airway, if I should put it that way. I didn't want to go deeper, but I have to explain it better now. So we call them beta cells, beta 2 agonist cells.
Okay.
And those cells are, responsible for either closing up or opening up the airway.
Okay.
So when they are stimulated, they open up the airway. Now that is what the inhaler mimics. The inhaler mimics that action. It works on those cells to sort of stimulate them so that they would now open up the airway for you to breathe. When you use it and then it's gone, it's gone. You understand? So it's not like
for a while.
it's not like a wakosrono. I don't know if I.
Yes, I think that's the best tree word you can use. Yeah.
So it is not true that when you use it to a certain extent, then you become used to it.
The reason why I asked that question was that I've mentioned to you that I was living with that for a number of years, but I remember one day somebody asked me to stop using because it was described to me to use, and I said no. If you keep on using it, one day if you don't have it with you, you can die. So I think I stopped using that maybe at the age of 11. So whenever this thing attacks me, I just maybe 1 hour time it will go. Just by time it will go. So I don't know, and I didn't use that after 11 years. So I don't know whether that one was really true or we are all different or something. I don't know.
Okay, so I appreciate that. And in our setting, in fact, a lot of conditions are blamed on asthma.
Okay.
So children get there is a kind of condition called bronchiolitis, for instance, which mimics asthma.
Okay.
It mimics asthma exactly in children. So if a child has that, sometimes even without treatment, with time, they get better. The noisy breathing, difficulty, everything stops. Okay. But then our older folk will say that usano no asthma, but meanwhile maybe that drug didn't really do anything for the person.
Okay.
Sometimes even people have heart failure.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it's blamed on asthma. Recently I saw a patient on admission at our facility who for 17 years thought she had asthma.
17 years?
17 years. She thought she had asthma. So what she had was pulmonary arterial hypertension. The pressure in her pulmonary artery was very high, and she was going into heart failure. Okay? But those also give signs and symptoms. They give the difficulty in breathing. Sometimes there is wheezing, there is cough and all that. So she thought she had asthma. And surprisingly, anytime it came and then she was given some asthma medications, because it also opens up the airway, she got a bit relieved until one day she was given the medication. It didn't work. They did everything, it didn't work. Then they had to now bring her, to emergency unit. It was there that, give treatment, every treatment for asthma, no, it's not working. Then let's find another cause for it. Then we found the cause and then put her on the appropriate treatment. And she got better and went home eventually. So sometimes we blame a lot of things on asthma that may not be asthma. There's another, asthma has, should I say, a cousin.
I was about to ask that then help us to know
the other
those
conditions
that we blame it on asthma.
Okay. So somebody may have, in simple terms, COPD.
COPD.
Okay, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. That may be blamed on asthma.
Okay.
Somebody may have heart failure, and the heart failure, some of them, they even call it cardiac asthma because it mimics asthma.
Okay.
But the cause is because there's a problem with the heart or with the cardiovascular system. And then, like I mentioned to you, a child may have bronchiolitis. That may also be mistaken for asthma. Okay. Inflammation in the trachea sometimes can also present the same way.
Okay.
And then sometimes somebody who has pulmonary embolism, a clot in the vessels that goes to the lungs. Okay. Somebody may have a milder form of it, which may worsen and then be blamed on asthma, but it may not be asthma specifically. So I really don't know which condition you had. It could have also been, a milder form of asthma.
Of course, it could be.
Yes.
No.
People have asthma.
Yeah.
Sometimes, they don't get attacks for a long time.
Yeah.
Unless maybe they are stressed out or something happens and then it's possible.
You have mentioned about 4 things that we might think is asthma, but it's not.
There are others, but
there are even more.
There are more. Yeah.
So imagine the layman just having these symptoms and just go to a herbalist. Oh, maybe I know asthma, and they don't have anything to diagnose. Do we have some consequences doing that? Wrong medication, assuming it's asthma and it's not. Do we have some consequences we have to take note?
Yeah, I think in our environment it happens a lot. It happens a lot, and there are consequences. If you have a clot in your lungs that you think is asthma, you are taking some medication for asthma, then the clot is just going to build up until a time that is so much that nothing can be done about it. So there are consequences to presuming a diagnosis of asthma whilst it is something else. You may be having progressive damage to your lungs or to your heart.
It's dangerous.
So it's important that we always speak to the right people.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about especially the children, because the moment you see the wheezing, and then asthma.
They call it intishewa.
Intishewa, exactly. Hey, dog, good you very true. I mean, because recently my sister even thought of that, but the child is fine now, and I'm sure that it wasn't asthma. So look, I don't know if you have already touched on the diagnosis, but let's look at that aspect.
Okay. So diagnosing starts from listening to the person. We call it taking history.
Okay.
So you listen to the story. Oh, what happened to you? Oh, I was there. Then I went out to exercise. It was cold in the morning, and I started coughing, having difficulty in breathing. And then you from there, then you take it on to examination. So you have to assess the person from head to toe, listen to the chest, listen to the lungs. There are certain sounds that we hear when we listen to the heart, suggestive of asthma. And then you put everything to. Sometimes you may have to investigate them.
Okay.
You do a certain test called spirometry. Remember I said the airways are narrowed. So if I were to blow air through a bigger tube, I'll find it easier to just blow the air through.
Exactly.
But if I were to blow it through a narrower tube, then you realize that I'll have more difficulty blowing the air through it. So the spirometry sort of uses that principle to measure how much air a person can blow out, the amount of air a person can blow out, just to say it in simplistic terms. Then based on whatever values that we get, then we're able to determine that, okay, this person has asthma. Sometimes the fact that a person has a family history, maybe a relative had asthma, or the mother or the father or some uncle or aunt had asthma, that also helps us to concentrate our minds on where to look for the diagnosis.
Apart from the history, do you have, is there any specific gadget to be able to determine that this person has been diagnosed with asthma, or you just listen to the person?
So I would say there isn't one thing that you do and then say that, okay, like let's say COVID, you just do the COVID test and then you know that it's positive. But then the spirometry, the spirometry is very important in helping us, characterize whether a person has asthma or not, and even grading the type of asthma that they have, the severity. But we don't depend on just that.
Okay.
You would have to put everything together, including the family history and all that has happened, to come to a conclusion, because it has implications. You are going to tell somebody that you have a chronic condition. Okay, a condition that if you even read WHO says cannot be cured, but then it's managed.
Okay.
So that carries some implications. So you have to be sure about what you are telling the patient.
So again, you have mentioned about the difference. So how listening to the person, especially when the patient might not be so clear about what has really happened to him or her, how do you determine that this is asthma, this is COPD?
So most of the time, before somebody comes to the emergency with an asthmatic attack, that history would have been known from childhood, that when he was a child he was diagnosed most of the time. But what you were asking me was, I was talking about maybe a first timer.
Oh, okay.
But then it's a disease that usually starts from childhood. You have very few people getting asthma very, very few people. There is something called occupational asthma. Okay. Occupational asthma, usually somebody who works in an environment where maybe chemical fumes or the person is exposed to pollen or animal fare, on a constant basis, then that adult can now develop asthma. But usually, asthma is a disease that would, manifest from childhood and stay with the person for life.
Okay.
So most of the asthma that we see or diagnose are usually asthma that is diagnosed from childhood, and not those that are diagnosed in adulthood.
Okay.
If an adult came to me and tells me that I was diagnosed with asthma 6 months ago, 1 year ago, I'll take that with a pinch of salt. Yes, I would have to try and actually look for other causes, like I mentioned earlier, and make sure it's not one of those.
Interesting. Now, look, let's look at the treatment for asthma. How do you treat it?
Okay, so treatment, usually we focus on preventing the attacks. But if the person has the attack already, then the first thing that you want to do is to give them what we call a reliever medication.
Oh, okay.
So that is the inhaler that they have. So they start by taking the inhaler. If the inhaler doesn't work and they require to be admitted in the hospital or seen in the hospital, then we give them what we call Ghana, the commonest is salbutamol, and a beta agonist. So we put them on that medication. That also helps to open up the airway. So we say we nebulize them. You put the drug in a certain machine that generates mist for them to breathe in. Then that helps to open up the airway. Then sometimes you have to add on other medications, like a steroid, or sometimes another medication, that they can also inhale in. And then sometimes if the disease progressed so much so that the amount of oxygen in their body went down, then you have to put them on oxygen.
Is that the level of life threatening, or that one is still different?
So that hasn't still gotten to life threatening yet.
Wow.
So that means you are getting into severe forms of it, but you haven't got into life-threatening. So we give them oxygen, and then as we treat, we monitor them for improvements. If, however, with all the oxygen, the medications, the steroid, salbutamol, they are still not improving. Okay, and then we think that they are so breathless that if we allow them to continue breathing, okay, they will use all the energy that they have in breathing.
Wow.
Then we have to support their breathing. So supporting the breathing means sometimes you have to, put them to sleep, put them on a machine, which we call a ventilator, to help them to breathe. So that is when we say the person has got into a life-threatening, asthmatic attack.
But I said, not chef with you.
Yeah, that's what it is. So, yes.
That is serious.
But that is few people actually progress to that stage, and it's usually people who are not whose asthmatic control is very poor.
Okay, very poor from the house or from whether medication, wrong medication or
not wrong medication. But when we say poorly controlled, it means that they are not going for review. They are not being seen by a doctor. Because a doctor can monitor you. And then one term I mentioned earlier on the test, I said spirometry. If you are attending an asthma clinic and then they are doing your spirometry, they will know that your spirometry is improving or worsening. If it's worsening and they have to add certain medications, then they add it. But if you are not going to any clinic, you are not being monitored, nobody is examining you to know that this time I think you are fine. Or you are worsening, let me add on a certain medication to help. And then you are there, and then just one day the attack just happens. Then that is a poorly controlled asthma. Or somebody almost every month the person is having an attack. That is a poorly controlled asthma.
Maybe you have not really checked what is causing that. So it means that you do not have to wait for you to be attacked by the asthma before you attend to.
Yes.
So it means that, and when you see the doctor, he will give you another appointment to come.
Yes.
Okay.
So asthmatics usually have, clinics that they attend, and depending on the control, maybe if yours is bad, then maybe they say, every month you come for review. But for somebody whose asthma has been controlled for some time, then they may say, come every 3 months or come every 6 months or whatever. So that's it. So
apart from the occupational asthmatic, level, what are some of the things that causes these? I don't know. Maybe you are not gotten there, but can hit. Cause asthma.
So I get you. We don't know the exact cause of asthma. I'm using my words carefully. Cause. But for somebody who has asthma, there are certain things that can trigger an asthmatic attack. I hope you get the difference.
Yeah, I'm getting it. Yeah.
So we don't know exactly why somebody will get asthma, another person will not get asthma. Apart from what I told you about genetics. But then we know the things that trigger an attack. So the things that trigger an attack, dust can be one of them.
Dust.
Cold air can be another. Strong scents or perfumes or fumes. Pollen, like pollen grain. Then animal fur. So so sometimes I know people love their pets, but sometimes you have a kid who has asthma, and the kid is always wheezing. You would have no choice but to get rid of the pet.
Especially they talk about a cat. I don't know if that is true.
Because their fur is easily removed. So yes, it's very true. It's very true. And even sometimes strong emotions.
Hey,
Yes.
strong emotions.
Strong emotions can trigger
Hey, what have
an
you said, though?
asthmatic attack.
Dr. Mitchell.
Oh, so you hear, you hear some news. You hear some news, and you are surprised, or I don't know. You feel a certain amount, certain emotion. Then suddenly it can, trigger the person's asthmatic attack. And then sometimes to even exercise can also trigger an asthmatic attack in an asthmatic. Yes. So.
I thought this strong emotion was only related to stroke.
Oh no. No.
Oh really?
Yes.
This exercise, because we have been told that exercise is good for us to be healthy.
Yes.
Now, exercise is also another thing we have to be very careful with asthmatic.
So if a person is non-asthmatic, then the advice is that they should use their inhaler, before they start exercising. Yes.
Okay. Doc, we have some questions here from YouTube. Hussein Steven says, I am about 32 years old now. I never had any history of asthma until 2 years ago when I had cold, and after taking treatment for some time, I think this treatment was treating, but I think treatment for some time, the cold was persistent. It then eventually developed. That is the person's, is that possible? About 32 years now. He had no history of asthma. Can it develop from that cold, and as you're saying?
So it's not, I won't say it has developed from the cold. And then also, I don't know where he was diagnosed, but like I told you, if an adult comes to tell me that they have developed asthma in their adulthood, I would be hesitant to say it is asthma and nothing else. Okay. But then, of course, I know that there are other conditions like the COPD that I mentioned. But I also remember I told you few adults develop asthma in their adulthood, especially when I was talking about occupational asthma. Yeah. So I don't know the work that Husseini does, or the work that he started doing now.
Yeah, he continued saying that I think he said eventually developed into cough, and after going to the hospital for some time, I was told I had asthma, but all the medication given me doesn't help.
So it may not be asthma.
So Doc, your own people. This one, I'm back to you. I put it to you.
Yeah.
Your own people. What could cause your own colon
well,
not be able to identify it and give wrong medication like that?
Yes. So I think there are challenges everywhere, but I won't say that wherever he visited to didn't do a good job. Okay. I don't want to use that term. But then what I would tell him is that probably he should seek a second opinion.
Second opinion.
Yes.
Can the person, I don't know where he or she is, but let's say if you in Kumasi, can the person go to Konfanache?
Yes. Okay. Our doors are open.
But he's saying that it counts mostly in the 90. But your asthma, I don't
because the weather is usually cold at night, some people have also realized that sometimes, most of the time, the attack would happen, at night or at dawn, early morning.
Yeah, because I have a story like that. When they used to have this Akan drama, it was mostly at 8 p.m. And at that time, what we used to say, probably we were about 2 or 3 families that were having TV. So a lot of people will come and then watch Akan drama. Then 9 p.m., when they have all left, I'll be sitting on the stairs being attacked by this. So, but I didn't know that it was the heat. So I tagged this asthmatic thing to 8 p.m. asthma. Until about 8 p.m. So this ignorance thing is killing a lot of us. But you don't know what triggers it, and then you keep on doing it. There's another question here. They say, please, Doc, at what age can a child be diagnosed of asthma?
Okay, so commonly, diagnosis of asthma below 4 years is it's not the usual thing. So I would say that somewhere after 2 years, going above that, then you should have an index of suspicion for a child who is wheezing after 2 years thereabouts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When you begin to hear your baby wheezing, should you be afraid that it can be asthma and that's it? I can't hold. What should be our condition? Because even strong emotion can even cause you depression.
So the thing is not to be afraid. Even though I said it's a chronic condition, remember I've also said that it can be managed.
Yeah.
It can be managed. There are medications to manage a person who has asthma. There are medications to help prevent frequent attacks of asthma.
Yeah.
So if a child has wheezing, you shouldn't be afraid, but by all means get your child to see a health professional so that they will see whatever is causing the child to wheeze. Not all wheezes are asthma.
Okay.
Sometimes even children, foreign bodies. I remember my own sister when she was little. She inhaled granules.
Oh, okay.
Granules went to lodge in her nostril.
Oh, wow.
And for some weeks, it was there. She was wheezing.
Wow.
Yes, she was wheezing. So it's possible. A lot of things can cause a child to wheeze. So if the child is wheezing, don't be afraid that is it asthma. Let us find out the cause of the wheezing and treat it. Even if it's asthma, it can be managed. So there is no cause for people to be afraid.
Okay. Please, we want to remind you that you can also send your questions to either the Facebook chat page or the YouTube. The first questions I read from YouTube. So all these, Doc is here with us. We have some few minutes, but Doc will be glad to answer all our questions. But there's also another question here from. I know we have not exhausted my questions, but let me still go to our listeners. Say that, please, when someone gets an attack, before you send the person to the hospital, what can you do to help?
Okay, so what you can do to help the person, if the person has their inhaler, okay, let them take in a puff. Okay, taking puffs as you are on the way going. Okay, and then also, if you knew what the person was exposed to before they got the attack, maybe there was dust there, or there was pollen, or animal fare, you have to remove that away from the person, because as that thing is there, to still continue, stimulating their airway to react that way.
Okay. So
if you know what caused it or what precipitated it, then you have to, take care of it. Yeah. Okay,
Doc, I don't know if we have exhausted all this that triggers the asthma. I don't know if you exhausted it, but so now one important thing is I think it's pets, especially with cats and babies. I think that one is quite dangerous. Yeah. So, but then I don't know if you really touched on the exercise. What kind of can asthmatic play football?
Yeah, I think there are some who are engaged in sports. Yes, but they are always, taking the necessary precautions.
Okay.
So they are always having these spirometry tests to know how their airway is reacting, and then also before they engage in any physical activity, they make sure that they use their medications before they.
This one's for the professionals. Yeah, your boy park is ready.
Yeah, but if you are going to play on a dusty field, I'll probably advise that you advise yourself.
Advise yourself.
Yeah.
Advise yourself.
And then if you exercise, make sure you are well covered. You are not exposed to the cold of the environment.
Okay. Yeah. But I want to still go though. What are the things that we are not supposed to do as an asthmatic, patient? I don't know if there was the right word to use, but what are the things you shouldn't do at all?
I always get asked those questions when talking about chronic diseases. I think that asthmatics can live a normal life, provided they take the necessary precautions. We shouldn't box them that you are asthmatic. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this.
Okay.
As long as they are taking the necessary precautions and avoiding the precipitants, the things that can precipitate an attack. If they are avoiding those things, then I think that they can live their normal life, and then also going for regular checkups as they are scheduled by their doctor. I think that they can live a normal life.
Okay. People also mention about lifting heavy weights. You advise people not to do that?
It's all part of the exercise. They should take precautions before engaging in those things.
Because, well, for your explanation, I don't know whether mine was asthmatic or not, but you saw me say yes, I'm asthmatic. So I was asked not to do anything.
Wow.
Yes. I was not sweeping. I was not washing clothes or utensils. All that I was doing was just eat, sleep, eat, sleep, because more asthma. Now, is it a good advice for a mother to treat? Because now is it indomie between one? I understand. Because I was asked not to do anything, because any heavy work, and especially those days that carrying water crowd was out. That's not bubble. So I mean, a parent who is so scared, because that kind of thing that can trigger. How do we treat children with these kind of conditions?
Okay, so for the sweeping, I would understand your mother.
Okay.
But fetching water, those things, I mean, unless maybe she wanted your sisters to do those things. Yes. For sweeping, I understand maybe because of the dust. But I think that parents should support their children to lead normal lives, even though they have asthma, and not box them that these are the limited number of things for you can do. Okay, but anything that will put them in danger, if they will be exposed to these pungent chemicals they use to clean the bathhouses, those things can trigger the asthma. So those things I will not advise anybody to do. Okay. Or strong perfumes in the house.
Strong perfumes, yeah.
Or if there are some pets in the house that they know that the fare can trigger the attack, then those things they have to protect the child from it. Otherwise, just support the child lead a normal life, so that they also don't miss out on some of these things.
Okay. Look, there's also a question here. Somebody is asking, what about air conditioning? It's cold, right?
Yeah.
Can it trigger asthma?
Yeah, cold weather can trigger asthma. Cold weather can trigger asthma.
Do you want to tag that to occupational asthma or something? Because
when
you find yourself in this office?
No. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the cold alone is enough to trigger an asthma. Okay, yeah.
So an asthmatic patient can still work in air-conditioned environment.
Yes, but maybe wear warm clothing.
Okay.
If it's possible to avoid it, that's fine. Okay. If it's possible to avoid it, that's fine. But if you are not alone, you have co-workers, then you have to put on, protective clothing.
They'll be harsh with time.
The asthmatics living in Iceland and
of course, that's true.
These Nordic countries. So
depends on how you manage it.
Yes.
Doc, I don't know. How can we prevent this? I think you've mentioned about the pets and all stuff, but are there any other things that we can do to prevent asthma?
Okay, so prevention of asthma, because I said the cause is really not known. Now there are no specific measures to prevent a child from getting asthma, because you get it based on your genes, for instance. But then for the person who is known to have asthma, then those ones, there are certain things that you can do to prevent attacks.
Okay.
So those are the things that I was mentioning. Avoid the dust, avoid the strong perfumes or pungent chemicals, avoid cold weather and all that. So those are measures to prevent getting an asthmatic attack. So we have to make the distinction between being an asthmatic and then having an asthmatic attack.
Okay.
It's the asthmatic that can get an attack.
Okay.
So I have to make that distinction.
Okay.
The fact that somebody has asthma doesn't mean that always they have all the signs. But then when they have the cough, the sputum production, difficulty in breathing, chest tightness, okay, when they have those, then we say that they have developed an attack, an asthmatic attack.
Okay. So mostly we are scared for these young ones, but somebody, just like the man said, at age 32, but once a while trying to do exercise, realize, or even walking, and realize that you are getting tired easily and your breath is the rate is increasing. Should you be concerned, or it could just be one of those things and just relax? I don't know.
So I think it will depend. If you are always getting tired, okay, then we have to find a cause for it, because that is not normal. That is not normal. So other things that can cause a presentation like that, for instance, if a person has heart failure, an adult patient, maybe the person has hypertension, and then suddenly they've realized that they could walk 100 meters without getting tired. Now they walk about 20 meters, then they are so breathless. Then they realize that before they could climb a flight of stairs without any difficulty, but now they climb stairs a little and then they get so breathless. So it's not only asthma that can cause that. That's one thing that I want to highlight for our listeners to understand. Other things can cause it. So
they used to tell us that those with asthma cannot live long. Is there any life cap for them, that if you are living with asthma, because it's chronic and you might not be able to overcome it, you can live up to 70, 80?
Oh, I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true. I've seen elderly people, 80-year-olds, 70-year-olds.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen people like that who have had asthma from their childhood all the way to the 70s.
Oh, okay.
So it depends on how it is managed. If it's managed well, the person can live a full life.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, apart from genetic, if a man has an asthma, can it be transferred to the woman?
No. So asthma is not a communicable disease.
Okay. All right. So
it's not like COVID that we have to wear masks here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Great. So the treatment, is it expensive? Because one we heard about, was it stroke or one of the drug over 9,000 cities.
Yeah.
Treating or managing asthma.
Managing asthma. So it will depend on the severity. If it's a mild asthma, it's not expensive. So it will depend on the severity, but it's not so expensive. But because it's a chronic condition, and the person will live with it for life, then you can see that in the long term maybe it is expensive, but it's not something that is expensive to treat. And most of the medications we use to treat asthmatic attacks, they are on the national health insurance, so it's not expensive.
So health insurance covers that.
Yes.
I feel to ask you this question: have you come across any case that somebody was attacked by asthma and went for a wrong medication from a herbalist? And what was the situation? How did you rectify that? I don't know if you have ever come across such thing before.
So I think that will cast my mind back to when I was working in the district. I used working at St. Martin's Catholic Hospital in Agresum. Yes. We had, sometimes you come across such patients with these stories. There was this particular woman who has had asthma from childhood, and almost every 2 weeks, 1 month, she used to be coming around. So we're just wondering why she really taking her medications, only to realize that okay, when she comes to the hospital, you give her medications, and then when she goes home too, she believes what she believes in. So she would also be doing her own thing in the house. Yes, I think it took somebody who was staying with her to also tell us that apparently, I don't know whether she was not working anymore, but she liked to stay by the roadside, and there the road is not tarred, it's very dusty. So she used to stay by the roadside and then always being exposed to dust. So we're thinking that probably this was always exposing her to that. So she comes to the hospital. Within a short time she gets better, then she goes home, and then while she's in the house, then she gets another attack, and then she's brought in again. I don't know how she's doing now. It's been a long time.
That's interesting. Do we have some, I don't know whether to call it food supplements or some food items that can be used to manage? People speak about garlic, and I don't know, has it been scientifically proven? Or there are some other things that people can use to help their medications as well?
I must admit I have little knowledge, in terms of food supplements that can help with that. But I can think about, the strong scent of garlic actually precipitating the attack too.
What do you think is going to kill you? Is rather going to trigger it?
Yes. So I've now remembered, you sometimes see patients and they've smeared garlic all over them.
I tell you, doc.
And
let's say garlic and it war. Let me say asthma drobian so dog, it's not easy, I'm telling you. That's why I asked this question, because what people are doing to themselves without any medical advice is serious. Because I have been there. I wish my mom was listening to me right now, but send my so please, if there's any advice on that, I mean, if you can give to
I would advise against that, especially smearing garlic on an asthmatic patient. It's a bit pungent, so it could be continuously, just triggering the attack for the person.
That's serious. Okay, thank you very much, Doc. Our time is almost up. We have really enjoyed your time here. We are grateful to you this evening. Yes. So, viewers and listeners, this is Dr. John, who has been with us here and helping us to know more about asthma. Doc, our time is up. Do you have any final words for us? There's somebody, I think somebody was greeting you from Facebook. The name, I don't know if you see it, Pius Lufmundan Banin. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, that's my sister.
Oh, that's your sister. Okay, so she says she's watching you and she's encouraging you to keep it up. What's the name, please?
Pius.
The one that
love
follows.
My dad.
Oh, Pius, love mom and dad. Okay. Oh wow, I couldn't get it. Oh wow, that's interesting. Hey, so that's very creative, Pius. That's very creative. I'll have to come and learn from you. My ira cry. And then our sister Bridget says, "Thank you very much, Doc. God bless you." Our listeners are very much grateful to you. We thank myself. I've learned a lot. The entire CCR Ghana, and I don't feel we are grateful to you. But before we go, I don't know if you have any last words for us before. Yeah. Okay,
so I would say that in summarizing whatever we've talked about today, asthma is a chronic condition that starts in childhood most of the time. Parents don't have to be, restrictive of their words, but then they have to be protective. So we've talked about the triggers. They should help protect the children from these triggers, and also make sure that they take the children to see health professionals on regular occasions for medical checkups, and encourage them to live their full life. Those are the final words I'll say.
Oh, thank you very much. Our brother Kojo Akomia also, I don't know if you also know, he's watching us and said, thanks, Doc, for the education. Yes, you have educated us, and we are grateful to that. My dear friends, we are grateful to God. Doc, there's one thing that we do. Apart from educating people, you have to speak blessings upon our viewers and listeners, especially those who are suffering from this. So if you can pray for them, please, if you don't mind.
Okay. All right. So let's pray. The Word of God tells us in 3 John chapter 1 verse 2 that I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health. So we know that the Lord wishes for us to prosper and also be in good health. I pray for everybody listening to the sound of my voice that may God protect you, may God grant you good health, may God open your eyes, open your mind to wisdom, that always you would seek knowledge, you would seek Him and live for Him. So this is my prayer for you. This is my blessing for you. Amen.
Amen. And yes, we believe that God is our healer. Thank you so much, Dr. John. Viewers and listeners, we appreciate your time, your data, your energy, and your love. Be with us here on Your Health, Our Concern. Our own Dr. Arim Pra was here with us, give us emotional support so that we don't get to the strong one, and then we have a stable emotional life. God bless you so much, Doc. You said that we will hear from you next week, so today you want to pardon us. My dear friends, my name is Francis Osei, and we pray that God will continue to keep you safe, and we shall meet here again next week, Monday at 6 p.m. God bless you. God keep you safe. Bye-bye.